Hello everyone, Tom with Capo Fetish. Today's subject on the channel is going to be creepy closers. Songs that when the stylist leaves the record and goes back, you're left with a feeling of unease. So I chose 10 here. We're going to go over these 10 tracks. 10 creepy closers. Ready for this? All right. So I'm going to start off here with a song that always leaves me with a little bit of creepy feeling off a very intense record. Very psychological record, very emotional record. I'm talking about My Mummy's Dead off the John Lennon Plastic Ono Band. It's a perfect send-off, perfect ending to an album full of despair, emotion, songs dealing with abandonment. So starting off the album, we've got Mother, which talks about John, his mother and father both abandoning him, both in different ways. Unfortunately, his mother was killed by a car, and the father just left. And he was raised by his Aunt Mimi. The whole album, though, isn't complete despair. There are moments of a little bit of what should we say, kind of lightness, kind of like with tracks like Hold On John and maybe Remember. And Love is a really good, beautiful song. But yeah, there's some really intense stuff on here. Well, showcasing John's primal scream period. Of course, we have Working Class Hero, which is just one of his greatest folk acoustic tunes. Isolation, another fantastic song that ends side one. And then side two, you've got Remember, you got Love, you've got I Found Out, the epic God, which he denounces everything on the planet except him and Yoko. And then when you think it just can't get any more intense, it ends with My Mummy's Dead, a 49-second song sung to the tune of Three Blind Mice, very lo-fi. It sounds like he sung it through a cassette player with his acoustic guitar. 49 seconds of John, just very morbid sounding, talking about his mom gone. So a very creepy little 49-second tune, but I think it's kind of the icing on the cake. And coming off of God, it's just it kind of just reaffirms really what this whole album is about. And incredible album. This album is a work of art. I've always thought that it was John Lennon's best album. I have to be in a certain mood to listen to it, but when I am just taken in, and I feel everything that's going on in this album, and it is fantastic. So My Mummy's Dead, a very creepy closer for me on this list. Another one is 1980's The Overload by Talking Heads off Remain in Light. It's the last track. It's very long. It's about 8 or 9 minutes long, and it's probably, after all the Talking Heads albums I've heard, I have all of them. I would definitely conclude that it is the most darkest Talking Heads song of all time. It's almost kind of Joy Division-ish. I know Joy Division was already out at this point, but has that kind of vibe, that real despair-sounding, kind of creepy vibe about it. And it goes on for 9 minutes. It's very morose-sounding, but it is cool. And I think it's one of David Byrne's most very, if you could even call it emotional readings. But yeah, 7, 8, 9 minutes of this track. And coming off an album full of like all these different African rhythms and everything, it really stands out, ends the album on a really weird, creepy note, but I still dig it. The Overload from the Talking Heads off Remain in Light from 1980. Another tune that's always creeped me out a little bit. Actually, it creeps me out quite a bit. One night I was a little altered, I'll be honest with you, and I put this album on, and I love this album. It's a great parody album. And when that last track comes on, called the Chrome-Plated Megaphone of Destiny, I gotta say, I'm a little at unease at that point when that track comes on. And of course, it's from We're Only in It for the Money, the 1960 album by the Mothers of Invention, Frank Zappa. This is such a great album. It's a parody of Sgt. Pepper, the whole counterculture. They even have some great shots in. You got Hendrix on here. You've got Zappa's wife right here. You've got Lee Harvey Oswald. Just a complete 180 of the Sgt. Pepper theme and concept. But I always felt that the gold-plated Megaphone of Destiny, is it really kind of like his version of A Day in the Life, like the complete 180 of that? Could be, don't know. But it starts off with a lot of laughing, a lot of weirdness. But to me, the weird part of it is the second half, where there's that drone, It just keeps going and keeps going. And that always freaks me out. And I think it's just a fantastic ending and a great, creepy closer. So the megaphone, or the chrome-plated megaphone of destiny from Frank Zappa and the Mothers of Invention, from We're Only in It for the Money, from 1968. So we've got the AC on right now. It is so hot right now in SoCal, I can't even tell you. It is, I think right now it's still in the 90s. And I looked on some of the weather channels. Bakersfield at 110. Visalia at 110. It's just nuts. So on with the show here. Another great creepy closer for me is Night Prowler from AC/DC. It's a great creepy bluesy rocking tune. One of my favorite AC/DC tunes. Supposedly the last track Bon Scott ever recorded with AC/DC. And what adds more weight to it, I'm sure a lot of you already know this, is that back in the mid-'80s, the whole Night Stalker, Richard Ramirez, all those murders, he was a big fan of AC/DC and this particular track, which adds even more creepiness to it. But it's just the lyrics, the way Bon Scott sings it, I think it's one of his best vocals. They claim it's just about, a guy sneaking into his girlfriend's bedroom window at night, but just all the imagery. And I think this has some of the most soulful playing by Angus Young. It's just fantastic. I've never, ever heard a live version of this track. And supposedly the last words ever spoken on mic, on record by Bon Scott are Shazbut Nanu Nanu, which was, of course, uttered by Mork on Mork and Mindy by Robin Williams. But yeah, just the way it ends with that and everything and all the other elements involved in this track makes it, for me, a real creepy track. But I love this track. I think it just absolutely rocks. This whole album rocks. I think it's one of the best hard rock albums of all time from start to finish. It just doesn't let up with the hooks and the great guitar playing. And Bon Scott, I think this is his finest moment on this album. Throughout this album, in fact, not just Night Prowler, but the whole album, he's on fire. The whole band's on fire. Love this track, Night Prowler from AC/DC, closing off the album in creepy fashion. Another great one is from the Kaleidoscope album from Susie and the Banshees from 1980. This is playing this today. Oh, this song has always creeped me out. I love it, though. It's called Skin. I don't know if it's about cannibalism. Let me know if you know what the true meaning of this song is. But it's very creepy. It's not slow or anything. It has those post-punk guitars in it. But her vocal, that ice-cold vocal from Susie that we all know, just delivers on this track. So that's another one, too, that has always creeped me out in a good way. Skin by Susie and the Banshees from Kaleidoscope from 1980. Great album. And, of course, here's one that used to creep me out when I was about 3 years old. It was played on the front room, living room stereo. Probably creeped my parents out. My brother would play it just blasting. We'd all hear it. And it was a shock to hear back in those days. And it was a shock to hear to a 3-year-old's ears. I'm talking about Inagata Deita by Iron Butterfly. What a creepy, creepy melody to this day. When I still hear it, I'm like, it takes me back to those days when I was a toddler, hearing this blaring out of the speaker from the living room. Very, very creepy melody, and the organ and the whole thing. This is not only is it a creepy album closer, a creepy closer, but it takes up the entire side of side 2, all 17 minutes and 5 seconds of it. If I want to hear this track, though, in its short form, I like the single version. It's like 2 minutes and something seconds. But if you like the drum solo and everything else, by means, put it on, play the whole track. It's great creepy stuff from Iron Butterfly from 1968. Inagata Deita has to be on the list. Another one, too, off of the self-titled album by Blur from 1997. These guys made a huge change in their sound from the previous album, The Great Escape, in 95 to this self-titled one in 97. They were sick of being labeled as this Britpop act. I love those 3 Britpop albums. Modern Life is Rubbish. What is the other one? Oh, for crying out loud. Park Life. And, of course, The Great Escape. So this is like the furthest thing from the previous album from 95, The Great Escape. They're going with more of an indie vibe, indie rock vibe on this, and they do an incredible job. They're influenced by Pavement and a lot of the, like Sonic Youth, a lot of those bands from that period. So a lot of variety on this album. There's like punk stuff like Chinese Rocks or Chinese Bombs. And there's kind of out there stuff like Death of a Party, But that last track is so creepy. SX Dogs, it's called, track 14. Kind of starts off with this, I don't know what it is. It sounds like a generator or a motor or some kind of machine, like starting off like gung 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 gung, and then it would slow down to like gung 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 gung. Really creepy, and it goes into this kind of really low key kind of vibe, the drums, and then this spoken word thing spoken by Damon Albarn, the singer, and just this weird kind of musical apocalyptic background going on in there, which is what I feel when I hear it. And it goes on for a while, and then it ends. And fades out, and then this other kind of cool part starts. It's kind of like a hidden cut, with just this really cool Graham Coxon guitar part, and some kind of keyboard or something else, but just really, really creepy. Great to listen to at night on the headphones. And again, another great creepy closer from Blur, the SX Dogs, from the Blur self-titled album from 1997. Here's a really, really unique album here. It came out in 1974 by artist Robert Wyatt. He was the drummer for several albums with Soft Machine. Back in 1974, this is the album called, right here, this is it, Rock Bottom. So prior to this album, before this album was recorded, Robert Wyatt accidentally fell out a 4-story window, completely fucked himself up to the point where he became a paraplegic, unfortunately, and was pretty much wheelchair bound for the rest of his life. But that didn't stop him from wanting to create this album. So that's probably why this album has such an unusual vibe. I would categorize it as more like an art rock album more than a prog rock album. But it's unlike any album you've ever heard. It is so unusual and so, it's almost unsettling in certain ways, and no more unsettling than the closing track, the creepy closer, which is called Little Red Robin Hood Hit the Road. I can't even really describe how weird this track is. It starts off with this just weird little kind of dream pop thing going on and him kind of moaning, and then it goes into this spoken word part. I forgot who the guy's name is, but it's just, the whole thing is so damn creepy. But it's definitely well worth hearing. You should check it out. The track again called Little Red Robin Hood Hit the Road. It's the last track on the album. This is from 1974. The album is called Rock Bottom from Robert Wyatt. Another one too is from 1968 from Skip Spence, formerly of Moby Grape and Jefferson Airplane. The album called Or. A lot of people are divisive about this album. Some people think it sucks. Some people think it's great. Robert Plant loves this album. A lot of people love this album. It's a really, really unusual psychedelic record. All the instruments were recorded by Skip Spence. Supposedly he showed up on his motorcycle one day to a studio. I don't know where the studio was. Recorded all the parts, all the vocals, and then left on his motorcycle, never to return. This is reportedly one of the worst-selling albums in Columbia Records history. Chock full of really, really great tracks. The last track, though, what's it called? Gray Afro, is really, really creepy and weird. It goes on for about 9 minutes, if you can make it all the way through this track. But if you haven't heard this album, I love the rest of the album. It's really great. First track, Little Hands, is great. Lawrence of Euphoria is great. Just a really, really cool album. And it's really unlike anything you've heard. Again, kind of like the Robert Wyatt album I just mentioned. There's really nothing like this album. It's fantastic. So for the creepy closer on this album, Gray Afro is the song. Very, very creepy. And then the last one, I always thought Vanilla Fudge had some really creepy harmonies and backup vocals on particular songs. No more than their version of Elanor Rigby on their debut album. This is another long track, goes on for about 8 minutes or so. Very psychedelic, and just, I think what makes it creepy are those harmonies, those backup vocals. Just when I was young and I'd hear this, I'd be like, ugh. But yeah, this is another one. This is another great creepy closer off a really great psychedelic album. Of course, it has several covers on here. Ticket to Ride, People Get Ready, She's Not There, Bang Bang. The whole thing is pretty much cover songs of songs of that period. And of course, the big track, You Keep Me Hanging On. But the creepy closer on here, Elanor Rigby, definitely belongs on my list for me. So there are 10 creepy closers I've mentioned. What can you add to the list? Do you have any more creepy closers to end this video, to throw into the comments section? Let me know. As always, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed, just press that button if you dig the content, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.